most especially for all of you that have been contributing to our discussion, our conversation right here on your frequency of choice, Splash 105.5 FM. I'm Oluwaseun Akinola, and I welcome you very warmly to this program for today. I told you earlier when I went on the break to come back now that I'll be speaking with the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs, Ajuri Ngelale. He was on my colleague's program yesterday, Michael Atubosun, talking about different issues around the petroleum downstream sector. I'm going to continue with that conversation with him this morning. While the Nigerian government is scrabbling to finance its budget, a whooping 1.45 trillion naira could lead to another case of bad debt for the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. A data fight analysis of the NNPC's financial reports show that credit sales to subsidiaries amounting to 1.45 trillion naira remain unpaid. Of the 22 subsidiaries, financial records checks by data fight showed that 12 owed trillions of naira to the parent company, the NNPC. The parent company's substantial uncollected credit sales and overdue payments portrayed how inefficiently all resources are managed. So when we talk about subsidy, how efficiently are we managing the sector? The Group Managing Director, GMD of NNPC, promised that the corporation will increase efficiency and increase revenue within the shortest possible period. Yet, this statement conflicts with another 423 billion revenue shortage the NNPC recently recorded when it wrote off the debt of one of its subsidiaries, the Pipelines and Product Marketing Company, PPMC. Bad debt is a cost a company is forced to bear once it cannot collect the payment for the credit sales. It is facing the reality that payment for credit sales will not be received. Oil sales are Nigeria's largest revenue stream, and revenue shortages due to defrayed costs could cause a severe financial burden, including an increase in borrowings. This was evident in the corporation's financial account with the posting of a loss of 16.3 billion naira in 2019, while the overall group reported 20.2 billion naira lost. In 10 years, it had reported a combined loss of 474 billion naira and 1.55 trillion naira in 10 years. So if a government is watching a subsidiary or watching an agency of it that is making loss consistently this manner, how can that government or that nation be effective and productive? Anyway, we'll continue to take a look at these issues on the program as we continue. So, but I want us to get in touch with Ajuri Ngelale. What I want to do with him is to examine the issues around the subsidy regime. Is the nation still paying subsidy? We know what they call the under recovery. Everybody has heard about under recovery one time or the other. So I'd like him to explain what under recovery is all about in this real sense of it. I'd like him to also talk to us about the deregulation. For those who listened to the newspaper headlines earlier this morning, they must have heard what the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources said, Timothy Silva. He said the deregulation of the downstream sector will be effected this year. The Nation newspaper said full deregulation of petrol price coming, says federal government. What it means in essence is that people will have to pay more for fuel in Nigeria. That is, we have to pay more for fuel in Nigeria. That's what it means. And so we're looking at this matter. And then if you combine that with what our inflation is saying now, Nigerian Tribune says Nigeria's inflation rate hits 17.33%, highest in 4 years. So when you increase fuel price, consider what will happen to your inflation, consider what will happen to the purchasing power of an average Nigerian. That's equally one thing that you need to take a look at. How much disposable income do you get? How much will you be spending on your disposable income. That is something that one will need to consider and think about when we talk concerning this price of petrol. You cannot just allow it to run, on its own in that manner. So we'll be speaking with him once we're able to connect with him. And I also would like to hear from you what you think we should do as a nation when it comes to this issue of petroleum pricing. All right, so I guess he's already joining me. So hold on for me in a moment as I connect you. Ajuri Ngalale is already here. Let's see. Yeah. Hello, Ajuri. Oh, gone. So I'll call him back. He was on the line in a moment. So let me get back to him in a moment now. So when we get in touch with him, we'll be connecting with him and speaking with him. Ajuri Ngalale will be speaking to us this morning on the issue of fuel price. Hello, Ajuri, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. So, good morning. Thank you for joining us right here on Splash 105.5.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you. God bless you.
Amen. And you too. All right. So, let's come to this issue. I read this morning from the Nation newspaper, the Minister for State for Petroleum Resources said, food regulation of petrol price coming. Is it inevitable?
Yes, for us, I think for us, we have to be very sincere with ourselves as a nation. That paying out 110 billion naira in the month of March alone on subsidy is not something that is sustainable. Something that can build you a power plant that can serve all of our people sustainably. So I think what we have to do is to consult very widely, ensure that we are all on the same page as a country. That we'll all want to move in the same direction, and then act accordingly. I don't believe that President Muhammad supports an arbitrary raise in the pump price or anything that is just whimsical. I think the president supports a process that is consultative, that takes into account organized labor, the pulse of our people, in taking a decision. So I think that rather than seeing a full-scale deregulation, which would entail allowing the market forces just to carry the pump price to whatever the international oil price effectively dictates, that we will probably see something in the middle that will see a kind of a partial subsidy so that we do not put too much hardship on our people over the next several months as we're coming out of a pandemic and as we have just exited recession and our growth is already still very fragile. So I think this is where we are.
Ajuri, let me ask you, what is responsible for the inability of the nation to go food regulation as we've been talking about it for a long time? I played back earlier today what the Minister of State said in September 2020 about fully deregulating the sector, but it seems it's a mirage.
Yes, thank you very much. What you're saying, it's absolutely true to the extent that we have wanted to engage in full deregulation. We have wanted to fully deregulate the sector and allow market forces to really take control and run the sector as it's run in most other countries of the world. The problem we have, the peculiarity in Nigeria, is that when you want to deregulate, you have organized labor essentially saying, look, we're going to shut this country down. We're going to go on strike. Banks, everything will be closed, and the economy will come to a halt. And we all know that we are in the midst of a very fragile economic recovery out of a pandemic. So this is not the time when we can afford a shutdown. So what you have really is organized labor basically saying, you people are going to be punishing our people. You're going to punish Nigerians if you deregulate, if you remove the subsidy, because then Nigerians will have to pay for fuel just like every other African country and most of the other countries in the world. So that is the major challenge that we have, and that is why you have not seen a full deregulation of the sector.
Now, you have mentioned a critical part, which is the labor. Even this morning, Labour is still saying that we want the pump price to be 168 naira per litre. We were able to prove our point about 3 weeks ago when we suggested alternatives to the government team, which was led by the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa. It does not seem that the Labour will back down on its stand. I understood that there will be a meeting with Labour very soon after the Easter break. Do you think Labour is going to understand your explanation?
Well, I think first and foremost in the organized labor, you have a lot of different forces at play. And what I mean by that is that you find when you engage with labor, what you find is that it is not a straightforward thing. It's not an academic exercise or an intellectual exercise or a rational exercise where people see the facts as they are and they take decisions accordingly. That is not how discussions with organized labor usually run. You're usually taking into account factors that have to do with heads of labor who are very interested naturally in maintaining their positions, maintaining their influence within the labor organization that they're heading. And then, of course, you have the political forces. I think just the other day, River State Governor Oluwaseun Akinola just built a multi-billion naira headquarters for the TUC in Port Harcourt, for example. So when you see these kinds of political forces involved, and you know that people like the governor of River State have openly begged for labor to go on strike, just for the sake of having political turbulence in the country ahead of some of the presidential ambitions of these people. So these are all of the various factors that come into play when we are interacting with labor, and we understand that. So it's not going to be very straightforward. So what we are doing is we are working with them, and we're saying, look, these are the realities. This is what our income is. This is our revenue as a nation, and we've done all of this. This is what we're paying on subsidy. Ironically, last week, and I want to be very clear about something, when the PPPRA did their job and released the cost template, the cost estimate, rather, however you would like to call it, they basically said, look, as a mode of transparency, they said this is the actual cost of this PMS that we are putting in our cars. This is the actual value of this thing. It is not the 162 at the pump. And the essence of that is to show Nigerians very transparently that this gap that we have in the country now of 50 naira per litre is subsidy that government is paying. Nobody is pretending that there's no subsidy or that there's under recovery or any of that kind of talk. There is subsidy, and it is 50 naira per litre as of today. So for us now, the question is about making sure that we're able to bridge that gap in a way that our people are comfortable with, but in a way that we have consulted with our people so they understand we're doing what we're doing and what the cost implication of what we're doing is.
All right, now, it's really not palatable to hear that this government is saying there is subsidy, but I do not have time to push that argument. Let me ask very pointedly, there will be increase in pump price in April.
Yes. Oh, you're saying will there be increase in pump price in April?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know yet. I don't know when the pump price is going to come, the increase. But what I do know is that it's going to be based on the consultations that are ongoing. What is guaranteed, what is certain, is that there will be no increase in pump price in the month of March. We have said that from the beginning of this month, and we're maintaining that. That is a certainty.
Now,
could it increase in April? We don't know, because it depends on how this conversation with Labour unfolds.
Okay. Now, I also want us to talk a little bit about refineries. I heard you speaking with Michael yesterday that even if our refineries, the 4 refineries, are optimally functional, it will still not bring down the price of petrol. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you very much. See, I think this is one of the huge myths that we have in this country. It's a big lie that has been spreading around. And unfortunately, people have come to believe it nationwide, as I've been engaging with our people on radio across the country, that if we have local refining capacity, we will enjoy cheap fuel. That is a big lie. And I want to explain how it works. For the benefit of having a refinery, the benefit to a nation that has local refining capacity is that they save the huge foreign exchange that they would be paying to international refiners to refine their products. Secondly, you say the huge foreign exchange that you're paying for shipment and transportation and logistics of that product to your country, which is a massive savings. So that's why it's very good for the nation's economy for us to have local refining capacity, whether it is publicly owned like NNPC refinery or private refinery. We just need to have refineries located here so that we can be getting this refined product paying naira instead of dollars. That is a huge advantage. Now, with that said, when you look at the linkage between local refining capacity and pump price, you will find around the world that is a mirage. The reason why is because you will not spend over $1 billion. In the case of Dangote, it's even $11 to $14 billion. You will not spend over $1 billion building a refinery as an act of charity. You are spending that money as an investment to recoup your investment and to make money, to make profit. The way you make profit is that you're taking raw crude and you are adding value to that crude by refining it. And you are now selling to the marketers, the filling stations and distributors who will now sell to Nigerians. So it is what you are now being paid to refine the product that will now make the cost what it is at the pump. So those who are expecting cheap fuel because we have local refining capacity, they are misunderstanding the oil and gas sector everywhere in the world and the way that it works.
Now, hello.
Saudi Arabia and the U.S. are two perfect examples. If you go to Saudi Arabia and the U.S., where they have massive production and they also have massive local refining capacity, you're going to see what the pump prices are in those two countries, just as an example of how the oil and gas sector is supposed to work.
But Ajuri Nglali, you cannot compare the socioeconomic realities of these countries you've mentioned with Nigeria.
Of course not. Of course not.
We use fuel for almost everything.
No, of course not. No, my brother. See, I don't want you to make the mistake of conflating two different concepts. The concept I am talking about is to talk about how oil and gas sectors function in nations across the world. Okay. It has nothing to do with a head-to-head socioeconomic comparison. No, I'm talking about how sectors work. The way that, we're talking U.S. and Saudi Arabia. The reason why we have a subsidy in Nigeria is because of the peculiarities we have in this country and the economic situation we have in the country. So we don't need to be told, trust me, the difference between the Saudi Arabian economy and the Nigerian economy. Clearly, they're very different, and that is why we're in position now to try and buffer and put some comfort as against the actual pump price. But the question is, how big is that buffer going to be?
I know you talk about buffers, but I'm not sure if these buffers had ever worked. We talked about it in 2012, we talked about it in 2019, we're talking about it in 2021. I know you are going to talk to me about the buffers, but particularly what you've called survival fund. But will it
No. That's not what I'm talking about, though. That's not what I'm talking about.
So
I'm not talking about palliative. When I say buffer, I'm talking about the subsidy itself. I'm talking about the fact that you have government paying a subsidy to keep our pump price artificially low, so that you don't have an increase in all of these other subsectors, food prices, and all of these other things. That is the buffer I'm talking about.
All right, so tell me, how will government help people to ease into these realities that we are looking at?
Well, thank you very much. I think a major part of this is obviously we are making a major push into auto gas. We know that is the solution. There's no other solution. It's not about giving out free buses and all of these silly things that governments have attempted over time. The real where you're really going to be able to make impact is when we can massively distribute auto gas, have our people convert their vehicles to LPG, so that we can be filling their tanks with LPG on an average of 100 naira per liter, as against potentially 300 naira per liter PMS if the oil price continues to go up. So that is really the long-term solution in terms of the economy and ameliorating the suffering of our people. And that is why the NNPC is ensuring that we convert 1 million cars to LPG for free. And that, by the way, that involves mass transit buses across capitals across the country. So that we can get our people into LPG. There's an upfront cost, of course, to convert the cars, you have to have a 200,000 naira conversion kit. But once you have done that, it is a long-term investment in terms of the fuel savings, and that is where we're going as a country.
Well, 200,000 naira conversion car. How many Nigerians can afford that?
Yes, well, that's why we're offering payment plans. We know that it's not an easy thing. That's why we're providing payment plans so that people can actually buy it in installments. It's not going to be just 200,000 up front like that. Certainly not. That's a major part of what we're doing.
When will this kick in? Before we go, when will it kick in?
Yes, thank you very much. We've already started handing out some of these kits to mass transporters in Lagos. What we're going to be doing is the NNPC, because we have stations in all states of the Federation, we're going to be starting with the NNPC retail stations, where you're going to have LPG fill-up points, auto gas fill-up points, and then the conversion kits. We're going to make them public once we've addressed the issue of mass transit, because we know that that's where most Nigerians, particularly low-income Nigerians, they really heavily depend on the mass transit systems in their various capital cities and states. So that is where we're focusing the conversion kits first. Once we have mass transit covered, we can now get into the private vehicles of middle-income Nigerians.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the program this morning.
It's a great privilege to be with you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Jurin Gilali, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. All right, so we'll be taking a break, and when I come back, I'll be engaging with the Citizens Gavel. We'll continue with our discussion last week on the issue of your rights when you are in detention and what you can do about it. Don't go away. Stay with us.
Splash FM 105.5.
It is time for celebration. 30 years busting with goodness. No challenge can ever stop us. You can't underrate us. You can't underrate it. Busting with so much greatness. Enjoy our
ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní àyíká rẹ̀ nípasẹ̀ ìròyìn BBC ní Yorùbá. Nítorí kí o tó lè tayọ, o ní láti mọ̀ ọ́. Ní ìmísí pẹ̀lú àwọn oríṣiríṣi ìròyìn láti ibi àti káàkiri àgbáyé. Nígbà tí o bá ní ìmọ̀ nípa ohun tó ń lọ ní àgbáyé, o lè ṣe ohunkóhun. Mọ̀ ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní àyíká rẹ̀. Wá BBC News Yorùbá kan.
Oh yes.
Make you prepare for the day ahead. Just enough for a delightful, healthy start. Start your day right. Hold on your ears up. Take green vitamins and nutrients. Life is so different with you. Hold on your ears up.
Hollandia Eva Milk. Right nutrients for a healthy breakfast.
Capture your world in stunning detail with the new Nokia 5.4. With a powerful 48MP quad camera and advanced video recording, giving you total creative control. Its generous 2-day battery life means your phone is there for you and your family when you need it most. Whether it's for work or play, you can see more on the 6.39 HD Plus screen. Nokia smartphones. Trusted, always secure, and built to last.
When we say the new Maltina pineapple and vanilla taste like adventure, here's what we mean. You kit up like an action hero. Check yourself out in the mirror. And then, in slow-mo, you grab a chilled bottle of Maltina pineapple or Maltina vanilla and enjoy the taste-spiration.
Own the flavor with the new Maltina Vanilla, Pineapple or Classic, and let the taste-spiration fill you. Maltina, share happiness.
Oral-B 2-in-1 fún mi ní èyí méjìdùn fún òjò. Máa lọ ṣe ìfọyín Oral-B 2-in-1 titun fún eyín tí ó lágbára àti èyí méjìdùn tó lálòpẹ́.
You know as body dey totori you anytime you dey download and watch plenty videos like say tomorrow no dey. Na so one corner of your brain go dey tell you say as e dey sweet you so make you remember say na your pocket go hear am o. My brother, my sister, the truth be say that one na before o. Now wey you buy data wey dey last with shikini money on top MTN, you go jollificate 10GB data for 3,000 naira and 20GB data for 5,000 naira. Plus say dem go come sama you 4GB awoof data for take watch YouTube videos for the data network wey dey reliable. Shikina, just dial *131# for take turn up your ogbonge data for shikini money on top MTN. Terms and conditions dey.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
sí pọ́ọ̀tù bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ó yẹ kó kọ́kọ́ kan ní kẹ́.
ta ló sọ yẹn bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń ṣe pásítà tèmi nìyẹn o àti pé golden penny ni pásítà tí kì í lẹ̀pọ̀ kò sí ìyọnu.
àwọn èmi fẹ́ ṣe pẹ̀lú ṣàjẹ́ àti oríṣiríṣi àtàtà tí kò kún náà ti rú woro.
gbádùn golden penny pasta bó o ṣe fẹ́ a ṣe golden penny pasta pẹ̀lú èpo àlìkámà durum wheat tó ní protein tí kì í sì lẹ̀pọ̀ o ní àǹfààní láti sè é bù tàbí jẹ bó o ṣe fẹ́ nítorí pé kò ní lẹ̀pọ̀ pẹ̀lú golden penny pasta bó o ṣe fẹ́ ló dáa jù.
Mama Betty tún ti gbàràdà ó ti gbé titun dé. Mama Betty tún ti gbàràdà ó ti gbé titun dé. Àwa ní Gbági nílùú Ìbàdàn à ń tọ́jú lówó aṣọ.
Wàpẹ́rẹ́ akọni ọ̀sìn fi dà lálẹ́ gàrà. Betty store tún ti kójú lówó aṣọ wọ̀lú fún gbogbo ẹni tó fẹ́ ṣayẹyẹ. Àti alára tún tà. Different types of fabrics. Scorpion lace, wide lace, dry lace, Swiss voice coral lace, fresh lace, Wallis lace, organza lace, àtíkù, gèlè head tie. Àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Àwa ní Mama Betty store CWH 65 Red Block New Gbági Market Ìbàdàn. Àwọn ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ wa rèé 07061355556 08056998718 07060923813. Gmail wa bettymama1@gmail.com. Come and patronize us today.
Àwa ní Gbági nílùú Ìbàdàn à ń tọ́jú lówó aṣọ.
Now, where's that big malt? Today was just one of those days. You know, woke up by 5, made breakfast, went to work, did my job, then my oga's work, then oga's work, came home, made dinner, and now nothing can stop me from enjoying my rich, smooth, refreshing Dubic malt.
Enjoy the silky smooth taste of Dubic malt. Dubic malt. Crown the moment.
Ìgbà náírà owó ìdákọ̀mú ǹjẹ́ o mọ̀ wípé o lè bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọjọ́ ọ̀la tó dára lónìí pẹ̀lú ìgbà náírà nítorí náà bó o bá jẹ́ ìyálọ́jà oníṣòwò tàbí òbí lápò níròyìn ayọ̀ fún ọ wọ́n ń pè ní my pikin and I account ẹ wọ èyíkéyìí ilé ìfowópamọ́ lapo microfinance tàbí aṣojú wọn tó bá súnmọ́ yín láti ṣí àpò ìfowópamọ́ my pikin and I account pẹ̀lú ìgbà náírà kẹ́ ẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní fowópamọ́ fún àwọn ọmọ yín ẹ fi owó tó tó ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dógún pamọ́ láàrin oṣù mẹ́ta láti yege fún ètò mádàndófò ọdún kan lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́ tó wá pẹ̀lú ìdándófò iná ìfọ́lé ní ṣọ́ọ̀bù yín tàbí àléébù ara nípa ìjàmbá ọkọ̀ ẹ fi ẹgbẹ̀rún lọ́nà ọgọ́ta náírà pamọ́ kọ́ ọmọ yín yege fún ètò ẹ̀kọ́ ọ̀fẹ́ lapo scholarship scheme bẹ́ẹ̀ bá fi ẹgbẹ̀rún lọ́nà ogóje náírà pamọ́ láàrin oṣù méjìlá ẹ máa gba èrè ìdá mẹ́ta àti mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dọ́gbọ̀n lórí ìfowópamọ́ yín àpò ìfowópamọ́ my pikin and I account wà fún àwọn tó fẹ́ fowópamọ́ fún ọjọ́ ọ̀la tó dára fún àlàyé sí ẹ pè 0813-984-0230 tàbí WhatsApp number 0815-055-3264 ìgbésẹ̀ àti ìlànà wà lápò fún ìgbé ayé tó gbòòrò.
I'm glad that you are still there with us on Splash 105.5 FM. One thing that will make today's episode a bit different is that from the start go, I'd like you to be able to call us this morning 0809-155-1055, 0805-699-8678 and 0706-949-3000. Those are the numbers you can call 0809-155-1055, 0805-699-8678 and 0706-949-3000. The issue that we want to discuss this morning is something about pre-trial detention and your rights. What are the things that you need to know? What are the things that you can do? So if you have someone in custody of the police who is yet to face trial, and is being detained, what are the things that he's going through, and you need a help on that, we would like you to call us this morning strictly because of that issue and let us know. In many countries, half of the detainees in the criminal justice system are awaiting trial. And that's a very big problem. And one of the issues about it is that those entering pretrial detention come from the poorest and most marginalized echelon of the society, who are least equipped to deal with the criminal justice process and experiences of detention. Many instruments guarantee the rights of citizens to personal liberty and freedom, but certain things have happened that will deprive them of these rights. I have Barrister Moshobola Oyedeji in the studio this morning. She's a lawyer. She's with Citizens Gabel, and we'll always come here to talk about our rights. Welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning. Last week we started this discussion, and it was heated because a lot of people were asking questions about it. In fact, when we finished the program, somebody tweeted about a problem he's been dealing with for a long time, and I may be able to retrieve that tweet and let us see. But let's do a quick recap of it. What are the rights of someone that is being detained before trial?
Okay, I think firstly it's important that people understand what a pre-trial detainee is. So most times when people appear before the court, because of the time that you have to appear, the 24 hours that you have to appear before a court. So most times the police bring you before a magistrate, and then the magistrate court has jurisdiction on cases that it can hear. So when the magistrate doesn't have jurisdiction to hear your particular case, most times cases that are beyond the jurisdiction of the magistrate court, the magistrate does not have any choice than to remand you in custody of prison, pending the time where there's a legal advice from the Ministry of Justice that's transferred. That means they will transfer your case from the magistrate court to the High Court so that they would have proper jurisdiction to hear that particular matter. So between the detainee is remanded in prison until the legal advice is out. Also, sometimes people can't meet up with their bail conditions and they can't keep them in police custody, so they take them to prison. So pending the time where they can perfect their bails, that's for cases that the magistrate court can hear. So pending the time your bail is perfected, you are remanded in prison, or when you cannot the magistrate can't hear your case, and then you have to wait until legal advice is out from the Ministry of Justice. So within that time, one of the most important rights you have is fast pace of your case files, moving from the police to the Ministry of Justice, from the Ministry of Justice back to the High Court. And then we realized that because the system is not digitized, case files get missing. So that's why people spend longer times in prison than they bargain for. And that's like the major issue why people spend time. Also because there's short number of staffs, the justice system. So people, you don't get dates, you don't get quick dates. So you find out that people spend more than they are supposed to spend in prison custody. Even if maybe they're sentenced 4 years, a crime offense that is 7 years, sometimes they will have spent longer than that in prison custody. In prison custody than
even the term that due for their crime. Two issues that we raised last week: the issue of the rigmaroling movement of legal advice getting from the Ministry of Justice. How long does it take to get the legal advice? I mean, should it take that long?
It's not supposed to take that long, but we know the way the system works, especially when it is paperwork, that you have to move it from a desk to another desk, from one desk to another. So the laid back attitudes of people in that sector. So you see people spend you are waiting for legal advice, so when you do not have a legal representative to help you track this legal advice, so when you have someone that is tracking it and is asking questions, calling the ministry, okay, when is it? So you see 1 month, 2 months. But when you do not have anybody tracking, your family is not going there to ask and know. But every time we see, every time there's a new commissioner for justice, they always try to improve on that particular. Yes, on that particular.
I'm also concerned about the involvement of the magistrate court. Should it be that if a case should go to the High Court, why do we pass through the magistrate? Because
unlike the High Court, the magistrate court is mostly for summary judgment. You can easily approach the magistrate court, and because of that 24 hours deadline, so you have to appear before a court. The process is called holding charge. So when you get, the police has to bring you before a court. So until you get when you get in front of the magistrate knows that, okay, I do not have the power to hear this case. Mostly felony offences. Shouldn't we have an amendment to that constitution in such a way that we will, on the criminal justice, just go straight
to the High Court where it will be heard?
Something like that. So.
Okay, so like I said, if you want to be part of this one, if you have cases that you think you can bring to these table, Citizens Gavel is equipped, is empowered to help you, in this kind of matters, for you to be able to expeditiously deal with this matter. They can easily advise you. And one good thing about their services is pro bono. Really, it's pro bono. Absolutely. Yes, it's pro bono. So I have people that can testify to what they've done, for them in this area. So you can call us this morning if you have something that you want to ask them or you want them to help you with. It will be good to have you, call them 0809 155 1055, 0805 699 8678, and 0706 949 3000. These are the numbers: 0805 699 8678, 0805 699 8678. That is the number you can call this morning. That is something that will help you get in touch with us this morning. I'll call the number again: 0805 699 8678. 0805 699 8678. So let's get back to the issue. Pre-trial detention. What are the rights? Let me come to that one. What are the rights of a man who is being detained before the substantive hearing of his case?
Well, the Constitution has highlighted rights that should be afforded to everybody. So whether you are in detention or you are outside in public, you have these basic rights. These fundamental rights should also be accorded to you. So the basic right to life, right to dignity.
Somebody there. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. What's the name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Oluwaseun in Ibadan here, opposite Fire and Cable. My name is Ayorin Bola Jasper.
Ayorin Bola Jasper. All right, let's have you.
I have one question for the lawyer you are talking with over there. What can we say about the case of Wakili that was taken to magistrate court? Because they charged him for murder. I don't think magistrate court has jurisdiction. What can we say? How do you want to learn from that case? Thank you. And God bless you.
Thank you. Ayorin Bola Jasper. I guess it speaks to what we have been talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because the magistrate court does not have the jurisdiction to hear murder cases. It's a felony and capital offense. So the magistrate would have to remand them in custody, because bail, you can't give bail except under some circumstances. You cannot grant bail to someone who has committed a felony offense that requires the capital punishment, and then the magistrate would not have a choice than to remand him in prison until his legal advice is out.
All right, so but that's the first port of call for them, given the process of our law. They have to take him there rather than just keep him in the custody.
Yeah, because you can't keep him. That's the thing. The police cannot keep him in police custody. So indefinitely they can't. So they have to take him before a competent court.
It looks like a rigmarole in our justice system.
I mean,
That's what it looks to me.
That's it. Well, that's what it is.
Okay, because I mean, you know that the magistrate cannot hear this case,
so the police,
but you still have to take him there because
is also trying to like move this person from their own.
Yes, you want to also avoid
whatever is coming.
So
you would not say that you've kept me in custody for more than 24 hours.
And can destroy the case.
Yes, exactly.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Yes.
I'm speaking from Oyo.
What's the name? What was the name, please?
My name is Pastor Dr. Okiki.
Pastor Okiki?
Pastor Dr. Okiki.
All right, Dr. Okiki, welcome.
Yeah, it's like something is wrong with the system in this country. How can a mother should be staying lost with the magistrate? And in as much the magistrate knew that he has no capacity or the finances, my advice is that the medical justice, they should go into it when they come together in the empire. They should show us how the law, the constitution can be amended so that the case that's supposed to go to the High Court case should be good. And the one that's supposed to stay in magistrate should be able to stay there. And they shouldn't file the case that's supposed to judge on time. You understand? The other countries are just laughing at us. The way we are running system and justice in this country.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Dr. Okiki. Thank you so much. Now, you see, he was amplifying what I said earlier, that if the case has to go to High Court, what do we have to go to? If I'm going to Gate, why do I have to go through Apata, Odona, and Bembo before I get to Gate?
Well, you can't. I don't think we can totally blame the police.
Nobody's blaming the police, because it's the system that we're looking at now.
It's the system, because they also have a deadline, and then they're just trying to like I said before, like remove whatever consequence from their own side. So.
Okay, so if you want to be part of it, we'll still want to hear if you have specific case that you want us to intervene. We'll be happy to do that for you. 0805 699 8678 0805 699 8678 this morning. Trying to find that tweet
also,
last week. Yes.
And another thing with the legal advice is that it would also help to determine whether the case should go on or not. So, like now, if the police has, I'm trying to get the legal language. Like if they've trumped up the charges, like for cases that are normally maybe stealing, and then they've trumped up the charges to be armed robbery, and then the magistrate court can hear armed robbery, and they have to move it. So when the case moves to the High Court, and then it moves to the Ministry of Justice, and they see that all the evidences before them shows that this is not armed. Because for it to be armed robbery, that means the person was present at the time of the crime and was also armed. So if they see that all the facts doesn't show that this person should be charged for armed robbery, so they don't just move it to the High Court. They know whether it should move on to the High Court, or if it should be completely struck out, or it should be tried in the lower court.
In the lower court. Oh, okay.
Because I have a particular, as of yesterday, there was a particular matter that came in through our Twitter page about someone who has been in custody since October 2019, because his phone, he allegedly
October 2019?
Yes, in Suka prison. His phone was allegedly found at the crime of the scene. The only thing was that he did not report that his phone was stolen prior to that time. So his phone was found at the scene of the crime, rather, and then he has been in custody since October 2019 for armed robbery.
Because his phone was found
at the crime. So I have not seen the charge sheet, but for someone like that to be in prison custody, it means that they said that he was armed with them. Meanwhile, it was the school authority that actually submitted him to the police, because they had to go through the school authority. It was a student of UNN, and they had to go through the school authority to get him. So if they had to go through that channel, they are aware that he was not at the crime scene. and then he has been in custody in awaiting trial since October 2019. So now his legal advice is not out. I asked the friend that called, why do they know anything about it? Because that was where we were supposed to start from, track the legal advice. They said that last time they checked that the ministry said that they can't find the case file, and
missing case file. That's a serious matter.
Yes. So I think for that particular purpose, it has to be digitized. There's no reason why anybody should still be moving file from one place to another in this day and time.
In this century. Let's analyze this issue. First is we have seen that our justice system needs to be digitized.
Yes.
That's one fact.
But you know that digitizing means that accountability and transparency, which is not something that we are very fond of in this country.
Okay. Like the tweet I was referring to, you said, this is a very big issue where persons is under detention and both the police, lawyers and prison wardens take advantage of family members who just want to see their loved ones out from the prison. He said that presently is handling a case like this whom the person has been in detention for 4 years now, no trial, no conviction, and both lawyers, judges, everyone involved is not willing to see that this person gets a sentence. So how can someone spend 4 years already in detention without even trial or a sentence?
If you, and 4 years is even, if you go to Agodi, because
4 years is more.
Before the COVID, we used to visit the prison a lot, and you will see people that have been in detention for 8 years.
Awaiting trial. 8 years.
Yes, and you will see that their offense might not even be an 8-year sentence.
That is injustice.
Yes, it is. It is. It's injustice in everybody's face. But because of the COVID rules, that we've not been able to go keep visiting the prison to get these cases.
So a man spent.
They're 8 totally years. Forgotten. They don't know. When you ask them when is your next adjournment, they don't know.
They have no idea.
They don't have an idea of their next adjournment date. Or they will say they've never even
gone to court.
So another thing is that the prison system, to when you see that this person has not been moved to court for a year.
And you kept him there. For what? Okay, so let Citizens Gavel tell us how they can reach them.
So our number is 0810-284-2542. 0810-2842-542.
Okay, so you can reach Citizens Gavel maybe for the last time.
Yeah.
Call the number again.
0810-284-2542.
2542. Please, you can reach out to Citizens Gavel. And today we've looked at violations of human rights in police custody and pre-trial detention. And we've concluded that our justice system should be digitized, that we should also have some amendment to that system. It's very important, and also avoid missing case file. I have to go now. I must thank Moshe Bolaton Oyedeji of Citizens Gavel for being on the program this morning. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Oluwaseun Akinola. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Good morning.
If only we could show you on radio our stylish new look.